They told us it's got 2 passive radiators and a subwoofer. They tried to tell us it's going to go boom, 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 boom. You're going to have the best party in the world. It's a 360-degree speaker. It's not just the Tribit Stormbox. It's a Tribit Stormbox Pro. Well, when I got my first version, I'm going to turn this one on for effect. When I got my first version, it seemed to have less bass than the actual Stormbox, unless you actually went to maximum volume. And you was coming on me comments, and you were saying, well, yours is defective, clearly, because Tribit know what they're doing. They wouldn't put a speaker out like that. And we've seen other reviews, and they say, oh, massive bass, and Flossie Carter compared it to the Flip 5. And blimey, it can go head to head with the Flip 5's bass. Wow, because that is basically a subwoofer, isn't it? Well, this is a new Tribit Stormbox Pro. This is the second version of Tribit Stormbox Pro, because you told me my first one was defective. Tribit would never put out a speaker like that. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But anyway, I got a second one just for my own benefit. Was that a defective speaker? Or is there a huge variation amongst the speakers? Maybe they're even giving different versions in different countries. It hasn't been unknown for people to do that. We have different tastes in different countries, a different tuning. However, Tribit Stormbox Pro, for me, my version 2, comparing frequency response on my first version to my second one. So this is my original Stormbox Pro, version 1 I'm calling it, and this is my version 2. As you can see, nothing wrong with version 1, unless there's something wrong with both of them, because they're basically identical. There is a tad more bass on version 1, if you can believe it. There's version 2, version 1, and I'm measuring a bit more of a peak at the high end on the version 2 compared to version 1. But to all intents and purposes, basically version 1 has the same sound signature as version 2. So yeah, guys, you were right. There was a difference between my first version and my second one. But hang on a sec. My second one has actually a little bit less bass than my first version did. And less bass, a little bit more on the highs. Exactly the opposite of what I was hoping. I don't know what's going on. Yes, when I test everything, it's with X bass on extra bass. Isn't it amazing how all these speakers have an extra bass feature? Or just give us the bass in the first place. I think to all intents and purposes, all these extra bass buttons are a bass cut. Or in the case of Sony, wonderful Sony, who've gone all shy on their specs, extra bass means it's got a passive radiator. Got 2 passive radiators on here, and a subwoofer, and an extra bass button. But hey, I don't seem to be getting much bass. Right, I compared the first Tribit to its normal Stormbox. This is the Pro, to the normal Stormbox. The normal Stormbox had more bass, except when you got to maximum volume. Let's go a little bit different. So I've got me former world pound for pound champion. Soundcore Motion Plus is still a great speaker with my EQ. Not everybody loves my EQ. I love my EQ. It does still sound great. It just doesn't have the deep bass, the motion boom. It's around £90. Soundcore always doing different deals. You know, you've got to be unlucky to pay full price on Soundcore Motion Plus. You can get it for 70 quid if you're lucky. The Flip 5, 99 quid and cheaper. I'm seeing it now. As a Tribit Stormbox Pro, I paid £120 for the first one. I think I had to pay £99 for the second version, and I see it dropping even more. It's slowly dropping. Is that a clue to what's going on? I don't know. Some people seem to love it, but as Flossie Carter, and you keep telling me Flossie knows what he's doing, and it's a major go. Okay, so you can get a handle on how does mine compare to Flossie Carter's, who I do like. I'm not knocking at Flossie Carter. I'm not knocking any reviewers, by the way. I'm just very light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek, and I'm putting that in as reference. And for value, Soundcore Motion Plus we never said this has great deep bass. But Tribit Stormbox Pro claims to have great deep bass. That's a cheaper speaker, around 70% volume. Where are we now with Tribit Stormbox Pro?
She on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Versace on my wrist, baby, make a wish. You could sell your Rari, but you can't afford my outfit. Pop another bottle of the Hennessy. Out here on the rooftop like a fantasy. Pop another bottle of the Hennessy. Out here on the rooftop like a fantasy. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me. Everybody on your feet, pour another shot with me.
I'm sorry, but it just sounds thin to me, the Tribit Stormbox Pro. I don't care how many people say, but it's got a fantastic bass, it sounds great to me. Well, it doesn't sound great to me. Around 70%, that's where you're really going to be playing it. A speaker not known for deep bass has more deep bass than the Tribit Stormbox Pro. Now, I'm going to have to, disclaimer, this is a 360-degree speaker. When I'm measuring on axis, of course, the tweeters are firing to the sides. You did ask me, does it really make that much difference? Of course it makes that much difference. Woofer, you can put a subwoofer anywhere. Bass is not directional. The tweeters, not really tweeters, are they? 4-range woofers, but however, the high end, very, very directional, of course, has advantage if you are on axis. However, if you're going to listen to it, or you've either got no stereo and you listen to one woofer on axis, or you're going to have to listen to it that on axis. The advantage, of course, of measuring it one way. Of course, in reality, if you're walking all around, maybe this will still be okay. But on axis, speaker for speaker, a speaker that is known for not having deep bass has more deep bass. Even the Flip 5, look at the difference in size. It sounds fuller. I don't know what's going on with the tuning with the Tribit Stormbox Pro. All we know from my first video is, you should have watched my first video. There's no bass adjustment, very unusual. Most of these speakers limit 80%. In the bass, no more after 80%, but the mids and highs will carry on. So it just gets more screechy, but it does go louder because of it. With the Tribit Stormbox Pro, it's the same frequency response all the way up. No bass adjustment, but suited to maximum volume, suited to louder volumes over 80% because of that. So, is that going to be the deal breaker? For my version, for the one that I've got, the way it's tuned, I don't know if the others are tuned different. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why some people are claiming it's got massive bass. It doesn't have massive bass. There's the references. I'm not lying to you. It doesn't. So maximum volume, is that where we're going to finally say, yeah, because if you play at maximum volume, then you're going to get a Tribit Stormbox Pro. So, my maximum volume test.
Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side. Have me by your side when the sun sets. Let's leave for an eternity. We'll sail across the lights beyond the sky. I'll be with you eternally. I'm an addict for your love, it keeps me high.
Tell 'em what your name is.
Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side. Have me by your side when the sun sets. Let's leave for an eternity. We'll sail across the lights beyond the sky. I'll be with you eternally. I'm an addict for your love, it keeps me high.
Tell them what your name is. Left and right, left and right, left and go.
So on my original Tribit Stormbox Pro, I said the one good thing I could find about it was no bass reduction at maximum volume compared to what the bass it had at lower volumes, but a dose of reality against the Soundcore Motion Plus, a speaker that is cheaper. Motion Plus in my custom mode, 5 decibels louder. Let's remember Tribit Stormbox Pro is a 360-degree speaker. The tweeters are off-axis compared to the on-axis that I'm measuring. However, 5 decibels is huge. 3 decibels bigger in the peak, and the Soundcore Motion Plus has 5 dB more overall bass. Compared to the Flip 5, they're about the same volume, although the Stormbox Pro does have a bigger peak. In terms of overall bass, the Stormbox Pro does have the advantage by a couple of decibels. And in fact, all over the bass is better than the mono JBL Flip 5. The Flip 5 is matching the volume because it has more in the highs compared to the Tribit Stormbox Pro. You can see the JBL Flip 5 strong all the way up to 16 kilohertz compared to the roll-off when you measure on axis, the Stormbox Pro. So ultimately, if you're going to maximum volume, you've got the option of a Soundcore Motion Plus. You're going to pay less money at the moment for it. This may end up being 30 quid and the biggest bargain on the planet. But at the moment, I think it's around 90 quid. Wow, wow, wow. It's finally outperforming the JBL Flip 5. Okay. As I said all along, my experience is this speaker makes most sense over 80% because it it does carry on giving you more bass, whereas the others are limiting at 80%. Soundcore Motion Plus, it does go loud. It goes louder than the Tribit Stormbox Pro, and it will give you more bass. Yes, it will sound a bit more shrill. It's not the greatest listen, is it, at maximum volume? But the headroom's there, and at lower volumes, well, it's certainly got more bass. You've got your tweeters firing to the side. You do get a lot of detail. It is an absolute classic, the Motion Plus. The one thing you don't get normally is deep bass. It doesn't give you deep bass, but then that's the same with the Tribit Stormbox Pro. What it does is it doesn't limit bass. So it's a reasonable option. If you need a 360-degree speaker and you're playing at over 80%, it's a reasonable option. However, there's your clues. There's your reference points. A much smaller, oh well, pushed them over. A smaller speaker, the Flip 5 can hold its own. Or, yeah, bigger speaker, but a cheaper speaker. And quite honestly, there's a lot more hi-fi credentials, if that matters to you, out of the Soundcore Motion Plus. It's the marketing, isn't it? It's the marketing that's the problem with the Pro. We saw that with the Motion Boom. They've gone Pro with the Select Pro. It turns out that just means lights, and apparently it's not as good as the Boom. And we see it on a lot of products. Even mattresses. You've probably never seen my mattress reviews, but mattress is a big deal now. They do a mattress, then they come out with a new one, and it's the Pro version. Wow, what does that mean? The professional version? If it was literally what it sounded like, it means you shouldn't buy it unless you're a professional. A professional what? I don't know, and I wouldn't like to suggest. However, The main conclusion of this video is my second Tribit Stormbox sounds exactly like my first Tribit Stormbox, and it doesn't have great bass, but it has reasonable bass if you go over 80% and you want a 360-degree speaker. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.